This investment guru tips will double your money. Just claim the offer.
Double your money from any random group. Pay attention. Promising double returns, they'll lure you in tight. Unverified groups will send fake tips overnight, emptying your pockets before you can fight.
Well said! Well said! Well said!
SEBI and NSE advise consult only SEBI registered advisors and make payments only to verified accounts or UPI IDs. An investor awareness initiative by SEBI and NSE.
Presented by National Stock Exchange. Co-presented by Canara Bank. Together we can.
Good morning, you're with us here on Business Today. I'm Aabha Bakaya. Let's take a look at the headlines of this hour. Cooking gas squeeze hits the country. Hotel associations say commercial cylinder supply stopped from Sunday. Several restaurants to remain closed from today. The government orders refineries to prioritize domestic LPG consumers. Booking period also increased to prevent hoarding. U.S. President Donald Trump says he may waive oil-related sanctions, promises U.S. naval escorts for oil tankers through the Strait of Hormuz if needed, claims the war with Iran will be resolved very soon. Trump's claims soothe global markets. Oil prices plunge. Brent crude and WTI both now below 90. Gold and silver back up as the spectre of high inflation fades. Asian markets rally after record falls. SEBI chief asks investors to be calm and not panic in the current storm, says India is affected by the global events, but its fundamentals are strong, adds that the capital market regulator is strengthening its supervisory capabilities through smart, internally developed tools. Shocking revelation in the Lok Sabha. MOS of Finance says the average health premium for individuals is up 23% in just 3 years. Data shows insurance companies are raking in profits and there's very little benefit for policyholders. Well, let's first take you through all the latest when it comes to equity markets as well as commodities. First up, gold, silver rebounding in opening trade. MCX back up, in fact, 11,000 rupees to 2.78 lakhs per kilo. It's a huge jump. MCX gold up 1,200 to 1.61 lakhs per 10 grams. So a nice move coming in this morning. Remember, we were seeing softening on these prices, and today a complete rebound and a very, very strong one, particularly on silver. The rupee has also opened stronger against the dollar. The rupee is at 91.93 onto the dollar in early trade versus 92.33 to the dollar. The rupee has also gained 40 paise versus the Monday close. So now that the pressure is abating, we're seeing the rupee back to strengthening this morning. The major concern, of course, is going to be LPG, and we'll talk more about that in a minute. But let's take you through the equity markets and what we're anticipating in trade today. Yesterday, of course, we saw a massive slide. Nifty was down about, extensively in early week trade. But today, we're indicating a gap up on opening, 24,280 on the Nifty, up about 1%. So we're looking at a good start. Why is that? Of course, Trump's commentary that the Iran war will be over sooner than expected. Crude prices also suddenly seeing a deflation and actually cooling off back towards the 90 level, which is really good news for everybody involved. Oil and gas is up about 1% right now. 11,611 is what we're looking at on the screen. So we'll keep an eye on this. We're about 3 minutes to go to pre-open, so we'll see how things shape up this morning. But overall, looking a little bit better. Now, India is facing an LPG supply crunch impacting households as well as commercial users. Restaurant bodies have warned of possible closures, with supply disruptions already reported in cities like Bengaluru and Mumbai. The government has asked refineries to prioritize domestic LPG, even as efforts are underway to secure additional imports and ease the shortage. Let's go across to Aishwarya Patil for more on this. Aishwarya, how problematic could the impact of this be? How long could it take to actually solve some of these disruptions?
Well, LPG crisis in the last couple of days, especially for the commercial players, restaurant owners, hospitality sector has been facing a shortage. Now, some of our industry sources are suggesting that although from the side of some of these OMCs, oil marketing companies like IOCL, BPCL, HPCL, the supply is there, but there is an issue at the distributor level is what we're hearing, but still unclear where the issue really is. But the other aspect of this is also that there has been a government order, a mandate given to all of these oil and gas companies saying that they should prioritize domestic supplies currently as opposed to commercial supplies at this point in time for LPG cylinders. So largely this is for the hospitality and commercial LPG. Through yesterday, we've seen on social media across Maharashtra, Karnataka, even from Coimbatore, some of these restaurant owners and the hospitality, some people from the hospitality sector, even the associations of restaurant have flagged that there is a shortage of these LPG gases and that they will have to wait. Even on the domestic household side, the government has said that there has been a lot of hoarding. Some of these sources have also indicated that at a time when a family of four used to order cylinders every 55 days. Now they're ordering every 15 days. So in order to curb hoarding, these moves have been and initiatives have been taken forth by the government.
Thanks for that, Aishwarya. We'll keep abreast of the situation there right now. Just 5 seconds to go to markets opening this morning. Let's take a look at those ticks on your screen right now. And we're looking at a gap up this morning. Yes, 250, 260 points, 1% up on the index, 24230. Now remember, after the kind of slide that we've seen, this is heartening, but it's no way a claw back yet. Nifty Bank up about 1%, and we've seen PSU banks particularly really hard hit in the current route that we've seen in the indices. Nifty IT today steady as well, up about 0.3%. We've actually already cooling off on those gains as we speak. So 50 odd points have already been chopped off and now inching back down towards 24,200. So in a matter of minutes, we'll just wait for the markets to stabilize in the next 10-15 minutes as well. L&T, NTPC, Shriram Finance, some of the names on the upside right now. We've got Geofin, Adani, Ultratech. So good solid gains coming in on some of the blue chips at lower levels. On the downside, a little bit of a pressure or just marginal cuts on some of those names on your screen, nothing major there. So right now markets are looking healthy in early morning trade. I think we have Shailendra Bhatnagar with us as well, and we'll go across to him in just a second. We also have at this point of time Dharmesh Kant with us as well, so let's get both their views in. Shell, first and foremost on opening ticks, how's the market looking this morning? We've also got expiry coming up, expected to be volatile.
Aabha, what's really good is the breakouts that are happening in sectors such as MNCs. Look for ABB, look for United Breweries. Sectors such as India Digital, keep an eye out on PB Fintech. As always, look at strength that is coming into Marico and of course the strength that is coming into the entire MNC pack. So that's where the trade is for the day. Yes, we have strength across the board. This could be a dead cat bounce, which is really fierce. Look at the advance decline, 1700 shares in the green versus 142 in the red. It's the weekly expiry, as you mentioned. I'll be focusing on banks. You'll see a very, very nice uptick on Nifty Bank because the price is way, way below the most immediate short-term moving average.
Absolutely. All right, and in fact, gains across the board. Auto is back up today, for example. So seeing a move there, we'd seen auto completely cool off in the middle. We've got all the blue chips up. Interglobe is up 3-4%. We've got Asian Paints looking good. The NBFCs, L&T. So a whole host of names are seeing recovery buying coming in at lower levels. Dharmesh, good morning. Let's talk about what we're anticipating today. We've got expiry. We've seen huge volatility, a major rout yesterday, some amount of steadying today. How volatile do you expect the session to be, and how do you see markets stabilizing from here on?
Yeah, good morning, Aabha. Good morning, Shailji. I mean, yeah, markets are likely to be volatile, way forward for at least next couple of weeks. But today, I think it's likely to be a green day on the backdrop of the better news flow which has been surrounding in. And at the same time, traders would like to book out and have some short covering rally. That is what we are expecting for the day. And there are many good sectors which were almost insulated from what has happened in the Middle East. They also got hammered, badly in the last 2-3 days. So for those sectors, I think for now it's a good time for investors and short-term traders or short-term investors to get into there. And those sectors are basically, banking space looks pretty much attractive, along with where no damage is anticipated. At the same time, metals and automobiles. So these are three good, sectors where you can lay your bets on. Defense is a structural story in the making. So we have been recommending at every fall to our investors to acclimate there. So stick to these 4-5 core, sectors for, future, and you would be safe rather than being sorry.
Okay. Let's talk about banking for a moment. And I think the move that we saw on PSU banks, Dharmesh, was a lot to do with the impact on bond yields, on GSECs, on account of what was happening on crude as well, and the currency. But within the PSU banking space, what would you be looking at right now, given that, everyone, including yourself, has just been talking about the opportunity when it comes to some of these names?
Yeah, well, the problem with such kind of a correction is that we extrapolate the bond yield for a 1-day, 2-day movement to the entire year, and then we do the valuation thing, which to my mind is not correct method, and that's the reason why we get sharp bounces back again. So like crude, 120, the entire analyst community was assessing that the entire year it will remain like 120. It was there only for a day. So such kind of, these are opportunities to collect quality stocks. I don't think bond yields movement will be sustainable and stickier for long term for the banks to have a negative treasury income impact. So that's the reason why I cited that it's a good time for after a healthy correction. And normally, see, in the time of scare, people who are sitting on good profits, and these were the spaces where you are having profit, they booked out. The hot money trading community, but investors were pretty much sticky out there. So banks, we are pretty much bullish on. What we are not bullish on is NBFC space. So the reason being, one is because of inflation being up. The cost of fund for these companies will go up, and that will eat into the margins of NBFC space. Secondly, there would be some cascading direct indirect impact on the MSME and the lower segment of the lending space, so which these NBFCs cater to. That will play out in Q1 and Q4 of this financial year, Q1 of the next fiscal year. So that's a space where we are advising to take profits or not to enter from an investment perspective, at least for a couple of quarters. There we will see, and valuations are pretty much higher out there. So avoid NBFCs, but banks, public and private sector, both are good cherry picking out there. SBI, Bank of India, followed by Axis and IndusInd Bank, looks pretty attractive to us.
All right, great. Now, US President Donald Trump has said that he may further ease certain oil-related sanctions to help bring down energy prices amid rising global tensions. He also warned that the US Navy and its allies may escort oil tankers through the strait if supply routes come under threat. The announcement had a huge impact on markets, with oil prices plunging, Asian markets rising, dollar falling, and bond and bullion prices up as well. Listen in.
Big fury. We're also focused on keeping energy and oil flowing to the world. And I will not allow a terrorist regime to hold the world hostage and attempt to stop the globe's oil supply. And if Iran does anything to do that, they'll get hit at a much, much harder level. I will take out those targets that were easy and that I mentioned just before. We'll take them out. So we're also waiving certain oil-related sanctions to reduce prices. So we have sanctions on some countries. We're going to take those sanctions off till this straightens out. Then who knows, maybe we won't have to put them on. There'll be so much peace. But when the time comes, the U.S. Navy and its partners will escort tankers through the strait if needed. I hope it's not going to be needed, but if it's needed, we'll escort them right through.
All right, Shell, 10 minutes into opening, we're holding forth, but we've cooled off on those gains. 24,172 is what we're looking at on the index.
Well, Aabha, I can tell you, Mr. Trump is walking back, and that's exactly what is visible in 2 or 3 assets. One, of course, crude oil prices now 6% below, and of course we've seen $120 yesterday, now just 90. So that's a very, very big relief for markets across the board. You will now see a very sharp cycle coming in agri commodities. Keep an eye out on sugar stocks, keep an eye out on ethanol stocks, and keep an eye out on distillery stocks. So all MNC and local winemakers and whiskey makers, Radico, UBL, United Spirits, sugar stocks, in particular Balrampur Chini, and of course the MNC space doing pretty well, and of course who can forget pharma. So that's the setup.
Okay, quite a smattering of names there. Now, let's also bring you a comment from the SEBI chief, Tuhin Kantapande. He's urged investors not to panic amid global market turbulence triggered by the West Asia conflict and energy supply shocks. Addressing the 30th anniversary celebrations of the NSE, the regulator insisted that India's strong domestic fundamentals provide resilience even as volatility rattles global markets.
We are also meeting at a time when global markets are experiencing tremors of turbulence and volatility arising from Middle East war, choking off vital shipping lines and triggering oil and gas supply shocks, as well as price shocks. Like rest of the globe, India too is deeply impacted by such developments. Yet, amid such uncertainties, India's domestic fundamentals have continued to remain strong, providing resilience. It's important not to panic at this moment, but to remain calm amidst the storm.
And rising global oil prices could hit India harder than most economies, with Axis Bank chief economist and member of the Prime Minister's Economic Advisory Council, Neelkant Mishra, warning that the country's heavy energy import dependence leaves it highly exposed. He says that a sustained jump in crude could add nearly billions to India's import bill, potentially distorting the balance of payments if high prices persist.
In a 2-month increase in oil prices, the impact will be quite moderate. If you have, see, about 50% of our oil demand is for fuel, and 50% is non-fuel. The fuel side, the government, because OMC are sitting on big buffers. For a long time, the oil prices were low, but the fuel prices at the pump had not changed. But now we have seen that these mosquitoes are an embarrassment. So there are some buffers there. For a few months, I think they can withstand that. So these prices may not flow through into retail prices of fuel. If this lasts longer, of course, then of course there are bigger implications. But for the remaining 50, I think there will be some impact, depending on what is the average price of oil and how long it lasts. It could be 30, 40, 50 basis points on the CPI side. Thankfully, that's not the primary issue that should bother the markets at this stage.
Ramesh, closing comments from you this morning. What should we keep an eye on, given that while Trump seems to have walked back this morning, nothing is ever certain when it comes to Trump, and the entire situation in West Asia is still on tenterhooks?
Yeah, I mean, there's only certainty about Trump that nothing is certain. One missile here and there, and again his rhetoric will change and the actions will change. So you have to be very, so what we are advising our clients is very simple. If you are investing today, if you are buying a well-listed stock based on your fundamentals, be prepared to see 15 to 20% kind of a downside. If that is appetite you are having, then this is a very attractive market to step in. And let's take a staggered approach. Don't put all your eggs immediately. I mean, staggered over 20-30% now. Even if you buy 10% higher, no harm, because if it is going to be in a stable and clear waters, so you will still be making decent money. So that is the kind of approach, and the sectors I spoke about. It has to be banking, defense, metals, automobiles. These are the only 4 sectors which I think, followed by some of infra and building materials, which 26 will see a good traction playing out there. So not to be scared, just be prepared that when there is a fall, it's not the end of the world. It will come back to the levels if you are investing in the right company at right valuation.
All right, Ramesh, we'll leave it there. Cheryl, thanks so much. And we'll wait and watch how closing shapes up at 3 p.m. Thanks so much for watching.
Presented by National Stock Exchange.
Look, this investment guru tips will double your money. Just claim the offer.
Double your money from any random group. Pay attention. Promising double returns, they'll lure you in tight. Unverified groups will send fake tips overnight, emptying your pockets before you can fight.
Well said! Well said! Well said!
SEBI and NSE advise consult only SEBI registered advisors and make payments only to verified accounts or UPI IDs. An investor awareness initiative by SEBI and NSE.
Gentlemen, मंगल है तो मंगलवार है तो मंगल ही होगा. A strong move coming on the back of an apparent climb down by the White House as far as the West Asian conflict is concerned. Oil is off the boil. You have oil now well below $90 a barrel. In fact, it was at $85 a barrel, down 10% early morning. Now still down 6%, but somewhere like $89 a barrel. And that's cooled off everything, provided equities a chance to bounce back. And today being the weekly expiry of the Nifty, it's added a fierce gap up plus a strong bout of short covering. How long will it last? Only time will tell. But for the moment, a strong move coming into three banks which are a part of the Nifty. HDFC Bank 1.2% higher, remember well below 200 DMA. ICICI Bank 1.4% higher, SBI 1.1% higher. That's how the indices are stacked at the moment. Let's look at pullers and draggers for you. ICICI Bank contributing 27 points, HDFC Bank 27, M&M 13. What's pulling the Nifty down? Infosys, Reliance, 23 and 12 points respectively. The Nifty 102 points higher, Bank Nifty 500 points higher, and of course the Nifty small cap up about 200 points. That's the state of play. There is profit booking continuing to happen on the PSU banking setup, and if you look at the advanced decline ratio, you have 2200 shares in the green versus 405 which are in the red. So far Nifty IT is in the red, but the top gaining index is the Nifty Alpha 50. So you can well imagine bulls are trying to regain control on Dalal Street. Arpit Beriwal joins us to discuss the market as far as today's trade is concerned. Good morning to you, Arpit. How do you see the Nifty on weekly expiry? Should we be able to retain 24,100 at market close?
Very good morning. So if you see the Nifty structure, in last 15 days, we have seen quite a roller coaster ride. So particularly technically, we see on the weekly time frame, in last few days, we have seen a corrective move of almost 1,500 points from 25,500 to 23,700 levels. On the daily scale, it is trading below its 200 DEMA. And yesterday, after a sharp gap down, we have seen some recovery from the lower levels. So looking at the overall structure, the structure is still negative with a bigger time frame, as on the weekly time frame, it is forming lower as low structure. However, on the immediate basis, if we see Nifty is trading in a broader range between 23,800 to 24,444. So 24,444 is a major hurdle level. That was the initial support levels. On the immediate basis, 24,000 as today being the weekly expiry. So 24,000 psychology will be an important support zone. But at the same time, 24,300, 350 would be the hurdle zones. Adding to that, India VIX, that is a greed and fear indicator, has seen a sharp spike in last almost 3 to 4 sessions. So volatile swing is likely to be there. Our bias would be that Nifty till it holds below 24,300 levels, slightly bias would be negative towards 24,100, 24,050 levels. On the upside, 24,300 would be the major hurdles.
Right. Arpit, any stocks that catch your attention? Would you have a view on OMCs now?
Definitely. So if you see yesterday, the advanced economy was really tilted in the favor of the bears. However, selected sectors are still outperforming. If we first look at the OMC chart structure, so yesterday definitely we have seen a big gap down opening in majority of the counters. Today we have seen some pullback move from the lower levels. But look at the chart structure wise. We would wait for any stability counters such as HPCL or BPCL. Having said that, HPCL definitely lower is negative, but the bigger structure is still in pain. So the level wise, 400 is the level that you are watching out for. HPCL on closing value 400, there would be some stability. Likewise for BPCL, the structure is still negative. Immediate hurdle is around 340 levels. Till it doesn't close over 340, there would be some bias negative on the upside. Along with that, selective pharmas and selective capital market theme stocks are looking good. So if you talk about stocks such as from the pharma space, where the sector has been quite resilient, our preferred pick would be Torrent Pharma. A very strong structure on the monthly time frame. Torrent Pharma forming high rise, high low structure from last 5 months. On the weekly scale, on the range, verge on the range breakout. Daily scale, in spite of market volatility, is holding well. So Torrent Pharma looks good for 5 to 7% towards 4,600, 4,700 levels positionally from here on, with support around 43 levels. Along with that, one more counter that looks good from the capital market theme would be MCX. So in spite of market turmoil in the mid cap and the broader market, MCX has been a standout performer. A very strong setup on the monthly and the weekly setup. Range breakout on the weekly setup around 2,500 levels, holding well. So definitely slowly, steadily the stock can head towards 2,700, 2,800 levels. So on the long side, MCX and Torrent Pharma would be a preferred pick.
Okay, fair point. That's the view that is coming in. MCX is already 1.4% higher. And in the first 20 minutes of trade, 121 crores worth of shares have already been traded. Fresh highs coming in on Power India. You know this as Hitachi Energy earlier. And from the pharma space, Emcure Pharmaceuticals. Second day of very, very strong gains coming into Emcure Pharma. And Emcure is not alone in this pharma uptick, as Arpit mentions. Look at Lupin, look at JB Chem Pharma. All of these stocks are flying off the charts as far as prices are concerned. Fresh move coming into Dixon Technologies, volume based 6% higher. There is again Glenmark, as I've been pointing out, 2.7% higher. This is a stock to watch, 2174, and of course Ashok Leyland 3% higher. There is a smart move coming into BPCL as well. Let's look at the intraday low of BPCL. The low for today is 328. The stock is still down, but sharp volumes helping the counter on its way up. Anything else that you're watching, Arpit?
If you see overall the bigger structure, the broad, whether it's about the indices or the stocks, so we have seen a pullback move. And today also, if you see, even after a sharp positive opening, Nifty has started correcting from the higher levels. So it's like we have to keep a balanced approach where we keep couple of ideas on the long side, at the same time couple of ideas that are on the weak side. So counters such as which are forming lower and lower structure in the monthly and weekly would be REC, where the bigger time structure is in pain. Monthly breakdown on the weekly and the monthly setup, forming lower structure, trading below with short-term moving averages. So one can go from a short-term bet to play the negative bias towards 315, 310 levels. REC would be the counter on the sell side. So one can sell short futures of the March with keeping stop loss of 342 for a downside move to 310 levels. Along with it, if we talk about counters such as Inox, Wind, IRDA, so this all structure is also weak. So we have to keep a balanced approach where the bigger market trend is still in pain and volatility is very high. So on the long side, selective capital market themes such as BSC, MCX and Torrent Pharma, whereas on the short side where the sectors are underperforming such as likes of REC, IRDA, we can go short side with keeping stop loss of 3% for a downside move towards 4 to 5% on the downside.
Right, 937, that's the view that is coming in. Silver Bees ETF, a very, very popular holding, ladies and gentlemen, 3.5% higher. Tejas Networks, 9% higher. R Systems, yesterday amongst the top gainers, 6.4% higher. Are there new highs in the market? Yes, of course they are. We've talked about two, Power India as also MCure Pharmaceuticals, but look at Precision Wires. 340.9, 2.6% higher. Fairly strong volumes for Precision Wires, 14 crores traded. Remember, Precision Wires is a 100 times multi-bagger over the last 2.5 decades. So if you have stayed the course, your money has grown 100 times. What else is at record high? Sterlite Technologies, 178.5, 2.4% higher. So that's the state of play. In terms of top gainers, Borosil Limited, 11% higher, 251. This is a bounce back after a terrible time. Riddington, fresh record high, 9% higher as far as markets are concerned. And it says that news coming in that Riddington is the back-end producer for Apple phones, and about 25% of Indian Apple phones are being made by Riddington. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is what is happening at this point of time. 939, markets are looking good. ICICI Bank as its days high, National Aluminium days high. A view on both these counters, Arpit ji?
So first, if you talk about ICICI Bank particularly, Bank Nifty was relatively resilient almost for last 3 to 4 months. And in the last week, we have seen some corrective move in the Bank Nifty, like it has seen an almost correction of 3,400 points in the last couple of days. So first talking about ICICI Bank, definitely ICICI Bank has given a range breakdown. But the good part is that it has seen good recovery from the lower levels. So I think if you can go on a contra side, major support is around 1260 levels. And the upside, it is negative formation on lower highs. So I think the stock is likely to trade between 1260 to 1330 levels. And looking at the Bank Nifty is still in a range with the cap upside. So relatively ICICI Bank is performing well. So a closing above 1300 would trigger the buy setup. Till that time, it is likely to be in a range between 1260 to 1320 levels on the daily basis. If you talk about Nalco, so in middle space, very selective counters have really outperformed well, and Nalco has been a quite outperformer. So generally, if you see the setup as from a broader market, we have seen a very strong correction, but Nalco is holding very well on the weekly time frame. So look at the chart section on weekly time frame. Major support is around 370. We can see upside move towards 390, 400 positionally. So Nalco setup wise is very strong setup with support around 373 for an upside move towards 392, 398 levels.
Okay, fair point. So that's what is coming in as far as markets are concerned, ladies and gentlemen. 941, we'll pause for a moment here and then take stock of how the markets are functioning. Your closing comments, Arpit?
So Shreyaji, overall देखा जाए तो India VIX is very high, and our suggestion would be that till the VIX, India VIX doesn't subside below 14.5, 15 levels, our advice would be that it's better to play within intraday swings, and whatever positions we're carrying overnight, it's better to keep in hedge, because I think for the next 4 to 5 days, the swings is likely to be there, and Nifty's broader range would be between 23,700 to 24,400 levels. Any closing above 24,444 would give any stability. Till then, stock specific action is likely to continue. go to the defensive sectors such as selective pharma, selective FMCG, looking from the top to down approach, and stay hedged because of higher wicks. And level wise, 23,700 would be a major support zone for Nifty. On the upside, 24,400 would be the key hurdle zone.
All right, 9:42, ladies and gentlemen. Arpit, thank you very much for your wonderful discourse on how markets are structured at this point of time. Let's just take a detour into the markets before we wrap it up. So, ladies and gentlemen, a nice gap up. That's mainly because of President Donald Trump walking back a bit on this West Asian conflict in terms of how oil prices will move in, and he seems to be in a position to declare victory according to him. Many of his advisors have talked to him. This is as per media reports in the US, that you need an exit strategy. Oil yesterday hit a 44-month high of $120 a barrel. Post this conversation, it seems Mr. Trump now wants an exit strategy, and that's the reason why crude oil has slumped to below $90 a barrel. It was down 10% at $85 a barrel in early morning, and that has sparked a rally across the board. Today is also the weekly expiry of the Nifty. So apart from strength that is coming into the pharma space, select PSU stocks, there is the MNC space that's doing pretty well. Power India, ABB, Siemens, Cummins, these are all stocks that you need to look out at. Keep an eye out on sugar stocks, keep an eye out on the digital stack in India, and that is how the trade of the day is so far. Please stay glued, and we'll be coming up with the best information, the best trades, and the best ideas for investing. Thank you for watching.
Presented by National Stock Exchange.
Look, this investment guru's tips will double your money. Just claim the offer.
Double your money from any random group. Pay attention. Promising double returns, they'll lure you in tight. Unverified groups will send fake tips overnight, emptying your pockets before you can fight.
Well said! Well said! Well said!
SEBI and NSE advise consult only SEBI registered advisors and make payments only to verified accounts or UPI IDs. An investor awareness initiative by SEBI and NSE.